Let's go straight across to Delhi, where the Economic Affairs Secretary R. Gopalan is addressing the media on the first half borrowing plans of the government.
And net borrowing will be 63% gross, net borrowing in the first half.
Net will be 60%.
63% in the first half. Okay, the total net will be 2.85 lakh crores.
And so any decision on the bucket size, or there will be OMOs and all this?
No, the OMO is RBI's. As far as liquidity stress is concerned, the Reserve Bank is always monitoring the situation very closely.
What could be the
as and when they perceive stress in the liquidity, they will keep on taking necessary steps.
So you will.
But OMO is generally RBI's decision on this.
So what could be the weekly average borrowing?
So you will get the borrowing calendar. No? Can I have a look?
What will be the average weekly?
You will get the borrowing calendar. You can look at it.
Will be just issuing.
They will be just issuing the borrowing calendar. You can look at it.
You will weekly transfer, sir? Weekly?
No, obviously, we will stick to this because this time we are very carefully budgeted. We had some problems earlier about the income tax refund last year. That problem we have taken care of this year. And we have also planned according to what will be the inflows, what will be the expenditure pattern. We've taken all those factors into account. And we think that this will be a very, very reasonable way of, aligning with the reality of a cash requirement.
So, since you think it's very well planned, is there a possibility that it could be lower than what you have estimated in the budget for FY30?
If my small savings collections improve, it will certainly be less than what we have, looked at for that.
How much can you?
No, that it's very difficult to say. You see, the small savings rates have been reversed a little bit upwards, and when we hope that the repo rates would start coming down because of the lower inflation. Once that happens, with the rates which is now given for the small savings, there is a possibility that it will go into more amount will flow into the small savings, and to that extent, the general overall borrowing, will be less. To that extent.
April number would be higher because there are some repayments bunched up in April.
How much?
There is a bunch of repayments in the first 5 weeks of the next fiscal year, and we have projected for our borrowing according to that. When you get the calendar, you will get to know what it is.
What's the cash balance? What's the cash balance that you start the year with?
Look, I think this is something which we will work it, because last another 2-3 days are there for withdrawals and other things. So it will be difficult to say at this point in time. But we always plan is that we always plan enough cash balance for the purpose of meeting the redemptions. So to that extent, we are sufficiently planned.
Tax refund is very high. Have you factored that in this time, and the CMD is lower?
We have taken it.
All right, so that's the Economic Affairs Secretary R. Gopalan explaining what the first half borrowings calendar of the government is going to look like. This is for the period April to September. What he has said is pretty much in line with what the market was expecting. The market was expecting a number of something like 60 to 65% of overall borrowings for the next financial year being front-loaded into the first half of the financial year. What the Secretary has talked about is a number of 63%, which in gross terms is 3,70,000 crores. In net terms is something like 2,85,000 crores. Now you need to remember that in the month of April, there will be redemptions to the tune of 26,000 crores by the government. In the month of May, there's redemptions to the tune of 33,000 crores. So that's 59,000 crores from redemptions in just the first 5 to 6 weeks of the next financial year. For the first half of the next financial year, redemptions are to the tune of something like 67,000 crore. And when you couple that with interest payments that the government will be making on bonds that it is presently holding on its books, you're talking about something like an additional 60,000 crores coming in. So 1,27,000 crores is what is going to flow back into the market. And that's really the reason the government is taking advantage of the first half of the year to front load the large part of its borrowings. Also, should it indeed have to borrow much more than what it has budgeted for on the 16th of March, it gives it that much room in the second half of the year to borrow more should the need arise. Of course, it is betting on something like 70,000 crores coming in from the sale of 2G spectrum. That's 40,000 crores, and disinvestment proceeds, which is expected to be something to the tune of 30,000 crores. Should that not happen, it gives the government enough room to borrow much more from the market in the second half of the year. But should all things stay equal, we are talking about bond yields staying at elevated levels in the first half of the financial year, in large part because of the front loading of the government borrowings, and possibly cooling in the second half should the government stick to its current borrowings calendar, which it's borrowing number, rather, which it spoke of on the 16th of March. You will see borrowings come down, and as a result, bond yields cool, which in turn should ease the interest rate environment, of course, repo rates and all of that from the RBI, expected to cool the situation much more. The calendar which the Economic Affairs Secretary spoke of will be put out. What we are expecting is something like 15 to 16,000 crores on average being raised by the government every week from the financial markets for the first half of the financial year.